I can send you the link to the video later on. So, hi everyone, welcome to our webinar, Gitora version control for Pl Sql. Today, here's the agenda. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the company, just so that you get a sense of who we are. I'm going to talk about what problem we are solving and what the problem we see in the marketplace and in Pl Sql, and how Gitora helps to solve the problem. For the curious, I'm just going to a little bit talk about how Gitora works, and I'm going to do a demo. So not a lot of talking, but I am actually going to show you things happening. So about us, we help Oracle customers catch up to modern technology. Specifically, we have two products. One is FormSpider, which is an application development framework. Some of you might know and might be even customers, like Visva here. Basically, FormSpider helps you build great web applications, cross-platform web applications, using Pl Sql only. You don't need to know JavaScript or anything. So if some of you I know you are using Apex, but if you're not happy with it and maybe ask, oh, maybe there might be something better, it's worth to take a look. Gitora is a tool we're going to talk about today. It will help you manage your Pl Sql code base. We're a small company, but we got customers in more than 30 countries, including the US and Canada. And we got offices here in California and also in Istanbul, Turkey. And you can always reach me at this email, yalım.gerger@gerger.co. So here are a few of our customers. University of Minnesota is one of our big customers here. Oki International, McKesson from US, Babcock must sound familiar to people from UK if there are any. So a few more. So we got customers from all over the verticals. And back to our topic, thank you for coming and being here, because version control for Pl Sql is kind of a difficult topic to talk about. Whenever I open this topic, sometimes in Twitter, a lot of people say, what problem? There is no problem with version control. Sometimes they're blinded because their incentives are not entirely aligned to admit that there's a problem. And sometimes they're simply not aware of the problem. They're gotten so used to not having the tool set with them available, they just think, okay, that's as good as it gets, I guess, and they just move on. But it is possible. I mean, I want to hammer this point really hard, that it is possible to implement really, really well, really cool version control solutions in Pl Sql easily. Just like other programming languages, like in Java or C# or JavaScript. So what happened here is with Pl Sql, because the tools usually doesn't really available version control tools don't really work with Pl Sql code because it's not file-based. People start to create their own solutions, their own systems, if you will. Now they're all fine and solve the issues to an extent, but you can't really take a solution that one company implemented for themselves and apply it to the other one. So it's just sort of a workarounds they implemented. And believe me when I say this, I've seen this so many times. I've talked to hundreds of companies. Lack of proper version control is one of the top reasons, I put it in top 3, I guess, that Pl Sql, they stay away from Pl Sql. They try to stay away from implementing Pl Sql because it limits them from being agile. It limits them to work fast. And rightfully so, because unless there is a product, there is a solution, the current tool sets don't really work well with Pl Sql. And what we can't do is, it's really the same problem, and just I put it in different words, but it's the same thing, just looking at it from different angles. We can't deploy as fast. We can't really work together like other people can work together, because you run your code in the database and you break some other guy. or some other person, a woman, or we lose code more often because we accidentally write over other people's code. Therefore, it's difficult for us to respond quickly to changes in business. This has huge productivity impacts. Moving code is very error-prone from development to UAT to testing, etc. So these are all real issues, and I think they're all solvable. Oh, by the way, at any point, feel free to ask questions from this little window that you see. There's a questions tab. And I'll keep looking, and I'll be happy to answer them when I see them. I keep checking for new questions. The more interactive, the better. So with Gitora, I think we can help you solve almost all of these problems. Gitora will help you lock Pl Sql objects in the database. And yes, you can still continue using your favorite Pl Sql editor. Doesn't matter which one you use. Gitora will help you commit Pl Sql objects to Git. Again, I'm going to have to show this to you because some people, like currently with SVN, there's check-ins and checkouts. It's different. Like with Gitora, it's more like how Java people and JavaScript people work rather than how you are used to work, even if you are used to working with a version control tool. I'm going to show it to you. You'll be able to apply common version control commands, such as merging two different code bases, branching, resetting to a previous state, and you'll see your code base changing automatically in the database. And you'll be able to manage packages, functions, procedures, views, triggers, synonyms, and object types in Git. And most of the time, almost practically all of the time, you won't even know Git. You won't even have to know Git. You won't even have to deal with Git. And most importantly, you'll also be able to move your changes from one database to the other. So you can go from dev to test to UAT or whatnot, and even to production. And all of this will be automatic and error-free. And this is not all like in theory. We really have customers who successfully implemented this. One of the biggest stories is Rennes, and hopefully I'm going to get Michiel Arendtsen, who is the system architect and the team lead who was running this implementation, to do a webinar for us in the coming months. So they have like 20,000 database objects, Pl Sql objects in the database. And these database objects are spread over more than 30 schemas in the database. Yet now they have successfully implemented a continuous delivery solution. They use both Pl Sql and Java to run their applications, and now this all integrated, works flawlessly. They pull code from development to testing regularly using APIs. They automated most of the process. So this really works. It's really great and creates enormous productivity. And this is really the point that I want to hammer in this webinar. Implementing version control with Gitora is the least risky, most beneficial, and most cost-effective way to improve your team's productivity. Literally, and I've seen this in many places now, there is nothing better you can do so that you can work more efficiently. Risk. What is the risk really? I mean, we install Gitora to the database, and we're going to talk about it. So what's worst that can happen? It doesn't work. So you turn it off, and you go back the way you are working, and that's it. So the risk is really, really small. The worst case is that it doesn't work, and you turn it off, and you just go back to the way you are working. It's not like you have a version control. Most people don't have a proper version control anyway. So it's really, really risk-free. And I've seen enormous productivity improvements depending on how we work right now. Like if you have nothing, and if you have like 20, 30, 40, 50 developers, you're going to get 10 times productivity out of this. And I've seen error rates in terms of deployment reduce up to 95%. So this is an enormous benefit with literally no risk And it's really cheap. Like our regular price is like $169 per developer. It's compared to the alternatives out there, it's nothing. And finally, keep this in mind during the webinar, because you're saving time and you are here. And I really appreciate this, the fact you are here, you're saving time for this, and your time is really valuable for us. So we're going to give you an offer today, valid today, the whole day. We're going to offer you the professional edition for $99 per developer. And we also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you buy this during this webinar or until the end of this day, and somewhat you think this is crap, it doesn't work. Basically, I lied throughout the whole webinar. Even the demo was fake. We get a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's a button on PayPal. I just click it and return you the money. If you're not happy, I don't want anyone who's unhappy using us. And we're going to help you all the way. So you get everything that I talked about here, plus you get email support, and we have no maintenance fees. So once you buy Gitora, all the minor versions coming after 2.0, we are at 2.2 right now, it's going to all come for free indefinitely. So there is really no risk, and whatever you risk perceive, I hope to erase with this slide. So here is the link, and actually let me send this link here just to everyone, I guess, entire audience. Oops, sorry, hang on. Let me get this link from here. Where is it? Hang on. Let me get this link. Oh, Jesus. So this is the link. And I'll keep reminding you this, but I just want to see this happening and stop wasting time with managing code manually. Oh, Walid asks, oh no, is this $169 per developer yearly indefinite? This is indefinitely. This is a one-time purchase. So no, there is no trick here. It's just one-time purchase. All 2.x versions you're going to get for free. It's a one-time purchase per developer. And it's $99 today for the webinar attendees only. So what's your situation today? I've been in many IT shops. I talked to a lot of people. This is what I see usually in the field. So there is dev. Hang on. You guys, hang on, where did it go? Oh, here it is. So let me just get rid of this. Okay. So we got dev. A lot of people have a dev environment, right? Then there is a staging area, and the number of databases in the staging area depends. But usually, and what the people call them changes, but they're usually called test, integration, QA, release, user acceptance, pre-prod. There's definitely always a pre-prod, and finally prod. So does this sound familiar? I'm hoping that this is familiar to most of you at least. And some people have an SVN or TFS or some other version control system on the side. And what they do is they either code on files or they code in the database mostly and manually check in the code to SVN Sometimes they use a tool. The best I've seen is that sometimes they use a tool-dependent, like Toad has a feature where you have a button, you can check things in and out. But the problem is there is always a backdoor. You can always use some other tool and do a backdoor, and hardly anyone relies on the version control system to move code between these databases. Am I like getting close to the situation where most people are? And here's the problem. You got queued access because there is only one dev environment. Even if you are writing on a file, you got to communicate with other people. And remember, if you got 5 people, you got 4 other people to communicate. If you have 6 people, you have 5 more people to communicate, and everyone else has 5 more people to communicate. So it's a factorial, I guess. So it's a huge communication problem. It's a blocking access. So you block each other. If I'm working on a package, you are not working on a package, and the blocking is sometimes not even implemented. It's interrupting. Even if I'm not blocking you because you work on a different package, I might block you. I might interrupt you because what I do in one package might affect what you are doing in this other package. The development ends up always being manual. So you always prepare the scripts manually and move from dev to test, and from test to user acceptance or to pre-prod. And there are always errors. Version control repo is the last resort backup. Nobody really wants to go there and trust the repo to do anything of significance. If something, God forbid, if something goes wrong, most people will go back to yesterday's backup or last week's backup, hoping that it will come up. SVN is sort of there. It's like 80% correct. But if it's 80% correct, it might just not as well exist. It's horrible. It doesn't even make sense to have a version control system that is on the side and is maintained manually. Projects, features, hotfixes are all intermingled in one dev instance, and it's usually forbidden to do any changes in release database, in test database, in user acceptance instance, but people still do it, and they have to remember to move it back to dev, but sometimes they forget, so it gets overwritten. All this crap still keeps happening. There is no branching, and probably the far worse thing is that developers are expected to follow the version control management rules manually. So everybody has to remember things and follow the process manually, which is practically impossible. So these are the issues that we want to solve. So, okay, so let's go. So step 1, like the easiest way to implement Gitora. You just take it and you just install it to your dev environment, to your test environment, to your user acceptance database, and to your pre-prod. Just all you do is installation. From this point on, as long as you use Gitora and as long as you move your code using Gitora from one database to the other one, you're going to get automatic deployment because it's all automated. So you work in dev, you just keep developing, and now you want to move your code, you're ready, you want to move it to test. All you have to do is open the Gitora UI and click the pull button in the test environment and point it to the dev environment, and you're going to pull the code automatically. Now, what's beautiful about it is that nothing is going to get overwritten. So let's say somebody had to make an urgent fix in test, and they forgot to, copy over to dev. Normally, if you move code from dev to test, everything is get overwritten. With Gitora, nothing will get overwritten. That little change will not get lost. The new package will come, but Gitora will detect there is another update in the test instance, So it's going to do a merge because that's how Git works. It's going to do a merge. It's not going to automatically do an overwrite. It's going to do a merge. And if it can, it's going to do this merge automatically. If it's obvious how to do that, if it can be done by a machine, it'll do it. But if it's a sensitive merge where a machine cannot do it, it's going to say, you know what, there's a conflict. I need you to take a look at it, and it'll ask you to fix the issue. But the bottom line is you're not going to lose code anymore, and you'll repeat the process over and over. So all of a sudden, green here in this picture, green is good, red is bad, yellow is so-so. So we got automatic deployment. There are APIs to do this. So overnight, you can pull code to test if you want to, or whenever you want to, or you can do it manually. Source code is now in Gitora, and reliably so. So God forbid, if something crashes, you can reliably go to your source control repository, and you know that 100% whatever you have done, say in dev, is there. You can start from there and recover your code. You don't have to go to the last week's backup or yesterday's backup and hope the last change you made is going to be there. No, your code is there. 100% guaranteed. We are still blocking each other when we work in dev. It's still interrupting. I mean, we haven't fixed those issues yet. Projects and features are still intermingled. But notice, we got faster hotfixes because now you can use the hotfix database or the test database to implement, urgent issues. Like you can fix something there now. It's okay. That code, that new code you put there will not get lost. This is really important. There are a few questions. Oh, hi, Harry, by the way. Sanjeev asks, is the license dependent upon the number of machines we will install on? No. You can install it on infinite number of machines in your organization. It doesn't depend on it. Be licensed by developer, not by machine. That's really, really important. Harry asks, if the company has a central Git account for other code, do you use the repository or is Gitora always separate? We can point Gitora to any Git account, any Git installation you have. By default, when you install Gitora, like when you download it from the website and install it, it comes with Git because most of the shops that most of the users we deal with don't have anything, don't have Git at all. So in order to help them with the process, Gitora comes with Git packaged. But if you don't want to use the Git reinstall, but point Gitora to another Git installation, that's okay. And you can do that. It's a simple setup in the setup tables, and we'll show you how to do that. So we got faster fixes, which is great. I mean, now I can work on any number of databases we have. So we kind of have basic branching and merging because we have hotfix branches. And the last point that I love is that version control rules are now enforced at the database level. And you can even have a release manager if you want to manage the whole thing. So this version control stops being a manual process that you rely that everyone on the team should follow. Because people are, we are human, we're going to make errors. Now, version control rules are enforced automatically in the database. It's not a side thing we have to do. It's part of our workflow, and there is no way around it. This is really, really, really important and probably the biggest benefit of Gitora. Now there's a next step. This is sort of, even better. Like you get immediate value once you install, but there is even more value that you can get. Now you have the ability to create another dev environment. You can have dev 1 and dev 2. And you can have dev 3, dev 4. You can have dev n. You can have as many developer environments as you want. And you can assign different groups of developers, different projects, if you will, to different databases and leave the rest of the staging area intact. This time, this way, it's going to be a lot less blocking. Project teams are going to work on different databases. And it doesn't matter. They can do anything they want without interacting with the other team or other teams. It's okay. Both teams separately can edit the same package without talking to each other. And that's just fine. Because eventually the whole thing is going to be merged either at the test database or either on the integration database. And they're going to resolve their conflicts during that integration, whenever they choose to do so, instead of constantly interacting with each other or emailing each other, hey, I checked out this package, hey, I checked out this package, don't touch that package. This whole thing is going to go away. It's going to work more smoothly. Any questions about these two? Because these are really important. It's really important that we get less block, we become less blocking, we have fewer queues, we have less interruption. So everybody seems to be intact? Okay, cool. Okay, one question from Waleed. Can you revert back to an old state of the database? Yes, you can take your Pl Sql objects and using one command, you can revert back your Pl Sql objects to that old state. Just one command, and it's a point and click. And I'll show it to you during the demo. Do I show it now? But it's just, I can show it to you anyway. So yes, you can always go back, or even move forward later. Go back, move forward, whatever you want. Adam asks, could you clarify how faster hot fixes are gained? Oh, sure. Here it is. Let me go back. So even with this picture, if Gitora is installed to every database in the deployment pipeline, in this case, you can easily do an update, an emergency fix in the test database, okay? And just take it through all your staging environment and deliver it to prod. And the next time you pull code from dev, the pull is the term in Git's world, to take code from somewhere. So the next time, now you have a test database that is different than the dev database, right? There is something in there in a package that doesn't exist in the same package in the dev database. And normally, if you run the same package script, take the same package script from dev and run it in test, you're going to lose your change, which is awful. But if you use Gitora and do a pull from dev, Gitora is not going to overwrite the change in that package. It's going to detect the difference because that's what Git does, and it's going to do a merge. Merge meaning it's going to take both copies and it's going to try to merge them together without losing any information. So we never overwrite things. And if Gitora can do this automatically, it's going to do it automatically. Basically, that's what Git does. If Git can do this automatically, it's going to do it automatically. If it cannot do that automatically, it's going to tell you, you know what, I can't figure that out. There has been changes maybe both in dev and in test on the same package, and I can't really merge these things, so maybe you should take a look at it. That's how you can deliver faster hotfixes, because you can effectively use any one of the databases in your delivery pipeline as a hotfix branch. Does this help? Sanjeev asks, what is the architecture of Gitora? Means how does the whole interaction happens with different components? We're going to get to that. I have a slide for this, Sanjeev. So Adam, I hope this helped. And okay, yeah, so the third step, now this is the nirvana of version control, and all Java teams, basically any good Java team, any good JavaScript team, any good C# team, basically any file-based programming language, anyone who is using a file-based programming language, and anyone who is good in these languages is developing this way. Everyone works in his or her own environment. They all work in their own environment. So in our world, that would translate to everyone having his or her own development environment. This can be a database. This can be a schema. It depends on how you are set up. But this way, every developer will work and do his work on his own without breaking everyone. Basically, this is the same stage where n equals the number of developers you have. At this point, you don't have to like have 3, 4, 5 devs. If n equals the number of developers you have, this is the way you should work. This is the final stage, ultimate productivity, and it's actually really easy to implement, if you ask me, because 12c, Oracle 12c makes it really easy, because you have private databases, pluggable databases. So imagine like this can be in 11g. If you have 11g, these can be local installations of 11g or local installations of XC. But in 12c, these databases can be pluggable databases. So if you have one pluggable database for each developer, this is an excellent use case for a pluggable database. You can just give each developer a pluggable database and have them do whatever they want. You can give each project an integration server where they integrate with the rest of the development team, with the rest of the world, so they make sure they're integrated better before they release publicly. And then you get the ultimate productivity and ultimate implementation of version control and perfect DevOps. No queues, nobody's waiting for each other, no blocking, everybody works in his own environment, no interruptions. Just because somebody codes something doesn't interrupt anyone else. And there is no blocking between features and projects. It's just fine, perfect, fluent workflow. Any questions about this? This can really happen. Oh, bunch of questions. So Sanjeev asks, is there any recommended code formatting to be considered to make the merge simpler? No, not really. Not that I know of. You just code. It's really about text. This is text based. So, Git doesn't really understand Pl Sql, or no Java, or no C#. It's just text. As far as Git is concerned, this is all text. So your format doesn't, as far as I know, it doesn't really help. It's just, you just write your code, and Git is really smart, so it'll do the right thing. Okay, so I think these are all the questions. So thank you, Brandon, for your kind words, and I hope to I hope we stay in touch. So yeah, and we can get to there, and some people can get here by themselves. Sometimes they need some more help, and we help them. But this is the ultimate way, and this is how we develop. In our company, this is how we develop. I got branches that I've created 6 months ago. I just work on them, and in the meantime, we keep, releasing features. It works perfectly. Now, back to Sanjeev's question. Okay, so I got it, but how does it really work? I want to know your architecture. So here is how it works. Basically, we got Gitora installed to the database. So for each database, you have to have a Gitora installation, a separate Gitora installation. Gitora both talks to Git, a Git installation, and to the database. We have database triggers that listens to DDL events. We have APIs. Well, let me go through this first. We have database triggers that listens to DDL events. So if you create a package or a function or whatever, Gitora detects that and just writes that as a file to the file system so that Git can understand that. So we have a working directory. This is called the working directory in Git, probably in other version control tools as well. Gitora also has APIs. These APIs can be accessed through our user interface, or you can access them from Pl Sql. We also have Pl Sql APIs. So when you issue an API, say you want to move back say you want to say, I want to go back to the point where I was last week at. So there is a commit point. You give Gitora a commit point. This is called a commit point. I want to go back to this point in my commit history. At this point, this API goes back to Git and asks Git for the files that have changed between now and then. And Git provides the files, the packages that Gitora has to execute in the database so that your database goes back to that previous state. So if you move back and forth, we don't execute every DDL. We only execute the difference, the necessary delta that we have to. So it's actually really fast. It's as fast as it can be. We have this black box, the Gitora box, is some Java code. So it runs in a JEE application server. By default, it comes with Tomcat, but it can run on anything as long as it's JEE. So that enables the communication between Git and the database. And while you're working, all you have to do is run one line of code, like when you open your, say, Toad. Most people use Toad or Pl Sql developer or SQL developer. When you open a session, you have to log in, one line of code to log in and to Gitora. You have to tell Gitora who you are so that Gitora can recognize you. And that's it. Starting from that point on, it's really just standard development, and I'm going to show you how the workflow works. Even the logging can be automated, like Renus automated that, because you can always have a database login trigger which can detect who you are and help you log into Gitora automatically. Man, I find that a little bit superfluous, but some people find it necessary. Okay, so I'm going to do a demo. But just in case, I want to send this again. So if you want to purchase Gitora and like the demo, I'm going to show you a demo now. And if you like it, it's going to be available for you for purchasing. So let's do some show, don't tell. This is a main principle in theater. You don't tell, you show. So this is what I'm going to show you today. This is my demo setup. I'm going to have a dev1 database. I'm going to have a dev2 database. And I'm going to have a pre-prod database. This pre-prod database basically represents any staging environment you have before you go to production. Basically, it's going to be all the same step over from that point on, from the pre-prod point on. And I'm going to have a group of developers working on dev1. I'm going to have only one user, though, from that works on dev1. And there's going to be another group of users working on dev2. I'm going to have just one user representing that group. And I'm going to show you how we develop. So any questions? So Adam says, only formatting issues I could think of would be white space issues, but maybe that's not a problem with Gitora. Well, it depends how smart Git is. I think they still detect white space, but it's not a huge issue. But I don't know how smart Git is with that white space. You know how it is with software. It's going to be probably 50% smart. It's going to detect some white spaces as superfluous and ignore them, but probably sometimes it's going to make a mistake and think that's important. But that's a very good point, Adam. Yes. So white spaces is probably the biggest issue. RL Butcher has a question. So the Gitora schema needs to be in each pluggable DB versus in the main container database? Yes, at least in this setup, each pluggable DB has to have Gitora installed. But I think if we have a deeper look at it, we can find a solution where we don't have to do that. The 12.2, the latest version, has some features that we can take advantage of, I guess, so that you don't have to do that for each pluggable database. But currently, yes, it's not a big deal. It's not a big install. It's really quick. I mean, it's just an installer that you run. So I don't see it's a big deal. Adam has a question. Does Gitora manage dependencies between objects when rolling back to an older commit? We don't manage dependencies per se, but there won't be any issues because we mostly work with code. We work with things that are create or replace only. So, and we try to do a good job. So we run the package specs first and the bodies later. And we try to run the, the views first, the triggers later. So we try to do all these things in an order that is as close to the perfectly correct order as possible. So there are going to be fewer issues. And we haven't run into any issues even in the biggest deployment so far. But some people are really concerned about this because they have dependencies between package specs, I guess. And I guess that's why you are asking this question. In those cases, I guess we can always intervene the process and make it perfect. Because we know if you know the order, we can do it, and there's always the Oracle dictionary to find out the order and run it perfectly well. But so far, this hasn't been an issue. Sanjeev asks, does it capture all DLL in database or only the DDL of the user login to Gitora? Gitora manages every object that you can execute, create, or replace command. So if it cannot be, if the object doesn't have a create or replace command, such as tables, Gitora doesn't do anything for them. For now, we are working on a really cool solution that will also work with tables and other objects. So, and that's coming because they're a different animal. For now, whatever procedure you have in place for table DDLs, you should keep them and keep doing them. During the demo, I'm going to make a recommendation about how we solve the table issue. If you like it, you can use that. Basically, what we do is we try to turn the table DDL issue to a file-based issue in a trick, with a nice trick, and you'll see about that. Oh, Aktam has a great question. What is the purpose of login to Gitora from the Pl Sql editor? Here is the purpose, Aktam. When you want to edit an object, Gitora checks that object out for you so that nobody else can edit it. To be able to do that, Gitora has to know who you are. Right? Otherwise, I mean, somebody is editing this object. Who is this person? You have to know so that I can give that object to you. I think it's going to be way more clearer during the demo. Like I said, this is a really new way of working for Pl Sql developers. Adam asks, with Gitora, can I make both Pl Sql changes and other code changes, say Java business logic, part of the same commit? Part of the same commit. Technically, this should be possible. I mean, we don't deal with the Java world, but if there is a Java world, we would be able to integrate with them. I think the ideal is, if they don't have, here's the key, they don't have to be part of the same commit. I think it's a good thing that they are part of separate commits maybe. It's okay, at least. But I think at least they can be part of the same ticket. So you can have multiple commits associated with the same ticket you have. I mean, that's given. That 100% we do. If you want to make them part of the same commit, that's probably possible. But it will require some some, synchronization with the Java developers in your team. So this is something you'll have to talk about with the Java people in your team. And maybe there is some role, some code we need to write. I'm not sure. We'll have to think about that. Great question, though. It's certainly not impossible. But most people are happy right now if these commits are at least part of the same ticket. Sanjeev asks, does it integrate with edition-based redefinition as well for Oracle? Excellent question. Actually, in 3 weeks, and I'm going to email you all about this, we're going to have a webinar about edition-based redefinition. I've got a guest speaker, Oren, from Israel, who made a great implementation about edition-based redefinition. This is an excellent question, Sanjeev, because what edition-based redefinition is the final endpoint of this whole process. See, what you want to do is, the perfect angle. Let me go back here real quick. See here, the final arrow between release, test, hotfix, and prod. If you use Gitora throughout the whole cycle here, throughout the whole cycle you use Gitora, what you really want to do is, the final effort, the culmination of this effort is, you want to go live without having no downtime. That will be like the ultimate nirvana in terms of DevOps. You want to go to production without having no downtime. So what you want to do is create your final script, this deployment script using Gitora, because you can create it with one click. And then using edition-based redefinition, you want to create a new edition in your production environment, run the script. If there are some last-minute problems, because outside of the code there might be migration issues, you want to sort these all out and then move your live environment to the latest edition. So that's how these two things, Gitora and EBR, combines. They empower each other. So there is really no integration we can do. They just, by definition, they work very well together. Just extremely well. Okay, so this is the demo setup, and let me quickly move to the demo here. So I'm gonna do this in, I've created this as a video so that we can move over this more effectively. Last time we did a live webinar. We did it on live. This way it's quicker. So I got, like I said, in this picture, keep the picture in your mind. Dev 1, Dev 2, and pre-prod. Okay? Oops. So at any time, please ask your questions. So here, we got Dev 1, Dev 2, and pre-prod installed. We're going to start from pre-prod. So pre-prod has our master code base. So the master code is in pre-prod right now, and Dev 1 and Dev 2 is empty. We have a few packages in pre-prod, and we also have a few tables. I mean, this is a real-world example. We even have some sequences. So I'm going to show you how we are dealing with other objects that Gitora doesn't cover. And Dev 1 and Dev 2 are empty. They all three have Gitora installed, obviously. And so as the first step, what we're going to do is we're going to initiate the Dev 1 database. So release, I'm connecting to the pre-prod environment. Okay, this is the pre-prod environment. There is nothing yet. I haven't even created the repositories. So I'm creating a prod and take every package I have into version control. I give a default schema. So my package is now created. My repository is now created. It's empty. There is nothing in it. And this is the Gitora UI. Now it's time to add Pl Sql objects to this repository. So I have a few. I can add one, or I can add them all. If there are multiple ones, like 20,000 ones, as in Renus, I have APIs to do that. You shouldn't do this from here if you have 20,000 objects in the repository, obviously. So you can do this via an API, and they're all here. Notice the green icon means they're all checked out by the user, which is Relman. And now I'm doing my initial commit. This is my first commit. I type in a message, my initial commit to my database, to my repository. Initial commit, hit commit, done. Everything is now in the Gitora repository. It's that quick. Let me stop here real quick and see if there are any questions. Any questions? Okay, so I'm just going to keep moving and ask again at a later time. So Dev1, as I told you before, Dev1 is empty. What I'm going to do now is pull this repository to Dev1, and Dev1 is going to be populated. So I switch to Dev1. So this is the Dev1. This is the Gitora that manages Dev1. I'm logging in as John. This is the user that works in the Dev1 database, one of the many users. No repository, but it has a connection. Dev1 has a connection to the pre-prod Gitora. So there's a connection between them. This Dev1 Gitora knows where the pre-prod Gitora is. So it can talk to it. So the next thing, I'm doing a clone. So we always start with a clone. And this is how you should start. So this can be your, for example, this can be your test database. If you are pulling code to the test database, the way you should start should be, okay, first say you install to dev, and then you want to go to test. You install Gitora to test, and the first time you want to pull code from dev, you have to do a clone. This is going to take everything from dev and overwrite everything in test, which is fine, because you're moving code anyway. Any questions? Okay, so far so good, I guess. So we are doing a clone. So we're going to clone everything from pre-prod. Oh, also you can also start from pre-prod if you want, if you're comfortable with starting from pre-prod. So now we have here, we got a remote Gitora. So we select pre-prod as a remote Gitora. There is only one repo there, so we pick that repo name. We give a new name to our repository in Dev1. You don't have to give the same name, but for simplicity, we are giving the same name to the repo and the default schema. And we can also map this part is important. We can also map source and target schemas. So the schema names in your target don't have to match the schema names in your source. They can be different. It's okay. But in most of the organizations I've talked to, they are the same. But just in case, they don't have to be. So I click OK. Boom. Everything is here. The whole code is moved from one database to the other. So when I look, I see the packages have moved. The packages are here now. And if you go back, if you go to the database, we'll see that the code moved also in the database. So if you go there and take a look at the dev1 environment, you'll see that the tables are not there yet, but all the packages are here. Now, this is interesting because notice the new model package. What we do is manually, this part is manual. What we do is we always keep our models in a package, in execute immediate statements. So we got a lot of execute immediates that describe our tables in a package. So whenever I run this package table, this table, new model, which holds my tables, I can immediately create my database tables and sequences and whatnot. What we do is, we take this new model package and put the package itself to Gitora. So multiple people can modify this package or packages. Doesn't matter. They'll be merged. Gitora will merge them. So I'll always have an up-to-date model package that I can use to generate my model. And we coded it smartly that if a column exists, if a table exists, it doesn't fail. It just keeps running. This is the solution we use to move what we call hard objects. So, meaning objects that cannot be created using create or replace. So, any questions about this? I talked about a lot of things. Sanchev asks, Harry asks, do you keep track of object status in Gitora or just in the database? Can we get a list of invalid objects in Gitora? We don't keep track of them, and so far it hasn't been necessary. I mean, getting the list of invalid objects are really easy, but we could do that. At some point, we'll probably add that. Oh, Anthony says something. Your demo is confusing. Okay. In our environment, each environment is different since we have several waves of enhancements flowing up to production. Yes, some environments are more complex than this. I'm aware, but I have to find a common ground. I'd be happy to talk to you or even, like do a meeting about your environment and make a specific suggestion about your environment. And you're right. In a sophisticated environment, there will be multiple environments. There's going to be the enhancements are going to be flowing up, just like just like I showed here. Hang on, let me, if I can find that picture. Like in such an environment, things flow up from project server 1. Probably, this is a pyramid structure where things flow up. But if I talk about the most complex scenario, I'm going to lose a lot more people. But I fully understand that this is a super simple example. I'm trying to keep it simple. But Gitora will actually flourish in an environment such as yours. I mean, it's specifically designed for an environment like yours. Okay, perfect. So we are in full agreement. So let's move on. Sit play. Okay. So what we're going to do here, run the model. We're still in dev1. So this is a lot of talk about model. So I'm going to skip those really fast. I will talk about those things. And we just run the model. Okay, so the model is run. Now what happens is that the packages are, the tables are here now. My sequences are here now. And a lot of things that are uncompiled are going to be compiled now because everything is compiled basically. So the next step is obviously do the same thing for dev2, but I'm going to skip that piece completely because basically we're going to repeat the whole process for dev2, and we don't need that. So Smith comes in and just repeats the project for dev2 database. Okay, now here, now we're gonna do our first edits. So editing starts. Dev1 and dev2 has the code. So in dev1, John comes in and makes an edit to the NU PKG package body. He creates a new function called new function by John. And it returns a number, 100, doesn't matter. This change can be arbitrarily complex. Notice, though, the change failed because this package is managed by Gitora. So you cannot just log in and make a change. You have to also log into Gitora. So we run a one line of code to introduce ourselves to Gitora. Some people automate this. Like I said, we got customers who made a Pl Sql developer widget out of this. We'll probably also create these widgets in the future, but I'm personally okay with running with one line of code. So the next thing, so now the second thing he's going to do is changes the value of a function from 7 to 77. He also now was able to save his previous change. So John created one function and edited one function. And save his changes. What Gitora does is, if the package is available, Gitora is going to automatically check it out for you. So you don't have to do that extra step of checking out if it's not necessary. Finally, we also want to show you how we deal with tables, as I told you. John is also going to add a column to the table, just so we show you how we deal with table addition. So what he's going to do is add a column to the table. And as a manual step, he's going to take that alter statement and add it to the NU model package. This is the only part where we do manual work. And we think it's not too bad. Giving the alternatives, it's not too bad. So we edited one package, we create a new function, we edited one function, we create another function, both are separate packages, and we create a new column. Now we are here. Okay, now back to the Gitora UI. As you can see here, the packages that John edited are green now. This is important, so let me stop here, and this matters. These packages are locked for John only, and that's why there is a green lock sign there. That's how John understands that these are his packages. And now he's going to commit them. Sanjeev has a question. If I want Gitora to monitor only some schemas and control it rather than all the schemas, yes, that's completely possible. If you want Gitora to control only some schemas or some packages It's just fine. Notice in the beginning, I added a few packages to my repository. Gitora only manages the objects that you want it to manage. And you can manage them in multiple repositories. That doesn't have to be one repo. For example, Renos has like 13, I think, different repositories. And you can add any one you want to any repository. You can even write code to automate this process. And using Gitora APIs, you can decide which new package goes to which repo. All this can be automated. Anthony asks, so what if John leaves for the day and forgets to unlock the package before going on a 2-week vacation? Excellent question. And, well, then in that case, you can't really do anything unless somebody logs in for John and makes a release, or an admin comes in and makes a release. But that's the nature of the beast. I mean, we cannot do magic. If you want complete independence, if you want everyone work completely free from blocking, then you have to move to this way of working. If everyone works in his or her environment, then John can go to the vacation, nobody cares. And about this is like literally the limits of physics. There is nothing we can do about this. You have to have a separate runtime. You have to have a separate environment, independent environment for every developer. Then Gitora will just excel and help you manage everything the way you want. This is the best case where you can get out the most value out of Gitora. But if you have only one development environment, or 2 or 3, what can we do? It's just impossible for us to solve this problem. And yes, just slap John when he gets back, or have an admin just release his code. That's also possible. If there's an admin, the admin can release anyone's code. Okay, so now John commits his changes. And notice he only sees his changes. And a lot of people get confused here. I like to underline this. John is going to only see his changes. If I connect as Yalom here to this dev1 database and try to commit things, I'm not going to see these 3 objects. Only John is going to see these 3 objects. This is really important. So not anybody can come in here and make a commit. Everyone commits his or her own changes. That's really, really important. And depending on the situation, he can include or not include all the objects that he checked out. And if he forgot what he did, he can always take a look and see what he changed. Git will tell us what's changed. So with one click, you can see what the change he made. Okay, so I want to check this in. I don't want to check this in. This is all now possible. John hits commit, makes an explanation, and usually this message should contain a ticket number. This is how you associate your commits to your tickets. And you can even see these commits then from your Jira, say, for example. From Jira, you can actually make an integration and see your commits, related commits to a ticket, which is wonderful. So now we've got the change here in our commit history. We can later on, months later, we can come in and see what's changed. We can look at the commit history, see what the difference is, and we got this nice user interface. Highlights, green, red, what's removed, what's added. It's always going to be there for us. I mean, how great is that? I mean, I can't imagine now working without this. Now the same thing we're going to repeat for dev2 environment. This time Smith is going to make a change. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm going to just browse through it very quickly. Basically, however, this nuance is important. What Smith is going to do is Smith is going to make 2 changes again. He's going to create a new function in a package and update make an update to the same function that John edited. Remember the function that was returning 7 and John made it 77? Smith is going to make it return 99. So this is going to cause a conflict. It's the same line, same function. One developer changed it to return 77. The other made it to return 99. So this is the change. That's not going to cause a confusion. So he's updating two things. Okay. And here now, see, instead of 7, and he's not even communicating to the dev1 team at this point. He's just going on with his business. For his project, this function has to return 99. That's it. And he's going to be able to commit whatever he wants. Also submit as a column to the database. No problem. Okay? And he does all of this in his own environment, which is dev2. So I'm going to skip through this because pretty much the rest is the same. So again, same thing. Smith is making his commit. Same idea. Nothing changes here. Looks at the changes. New column. He can just issue it. He'll just issue a commit. This is totally separate from the other installation. Different history. The histories are completely separate. No team has any idea of what the other team is doing. They just move without interrupting each other. They're gonna resolve these issues when they merge their code together, which is the next step. So that we have a new line in the history, fixed issue number 9, which is perfect. Okay, so this is exactly what we wanted. Now, the next step, let's merge these changes together. And here, just let me make sure if there are questions. Okay, no questions. Okay, so the next step is merging. So we come to preprod. Preprod can see both databases, both Gitoras that manage these two databases. And we do a pull. So we do a pull from dev1. We pick dev1 as the remote Gitora we're going to pull from. We pick demo repository as the repository we're going to pull from. And we pick a branch. In this example, we didn't deal with branches, but we could. So we're going to pick from the master branch. We are keeping things simple and funny. So we click OK, and boom. Merge completed successfully. All the changes are moved from dev1 database to preprod database. As you see, the history moved too. In Git, I have the full history, the new updated history. And if I go to preprod database, I'll see that my packages have changed. So if I just hit a refresh and just open one of the packages I updated, such as new pkg, note this is a new function and it's just here. It just appeared. No manual work. It's all automatic. And 77, we also see the number change from 7 to 77. There are no conflicts here. I just moved some code from dev1 to preprod. I also see my table alter statement that I just. It's not in the database yet because I haven't run the model package. This is what we do manually. So all I have to do is just run this model again. Again, this is something some people can automate. In the future, we are thinking about adding this as an automatic step to Gitora. I'm actually working on it. Okay, now the second step. I'm going to pull from dev2. Maybe I should stop here and see if there are any questions. Okay, Chris has a question. Hi, Chris. If my prod, if my prod is an AWS instance, meaning an Amazon Cloud instance, and my preprod is in another AWS instance, another Amazon instance, can Gitora migrate changes from my preprod to prod? Yes, it can. the important thing here is, and thank you, Chris, this is a very good question. The most important thing is that has to be, let me go back to this picture here again, what's important is, like, this communication should be fast, and this communication should be fast, and this communication should be fast. It's okay if this communication is not fast. It's okay. But if you want things to move fast, these things should be fast. These communications, like, we had a customer who installed Gitora application server locally to his laptop, and he had his database in Amazon Cloud. Now, that's not going to work because that's a really slow connection and very, very prone to disconnection. Because whenever you update something, Gitora reads that DDL and does something with it. So these things should ideally be, they should be in the same LAN, basically. I wouldn't mind having them in the same physical computer. It will be great, but as long as they are in the same LAN, it's just fine. In AWS, the connection between instances are usually really, really good. So you can really connect them really well. So it's really fast. So I think that's okay. And this connection here, it's okay if it's like somewhat good. Like if you have to, and this is the question you are asking, Chris. So if you have separate instances, as long as this is reliable, it's fine, because you're not going to do these pulls very often. So you're going to wait, maybe instead of waiting for 5 seconds, you're probably going to wait for 30 seconds or a minute, and that's fine. As long as the connection is reliable, it's fine. So now I'm pulling from dev2, and that's going to cause problems. Because remember, we're going to cause a conflict. Oh, we have a problem, and the message says, pull completed with issues. Please review the issues and resolve them to finalize the pull. At this point, Gitora is going to show you the issues. There are 2 issues. One is in a new model. One is in a new util package. UU shows, here the UU, the conflict reason, U stands for update. This means that both sides have updated the same package and Gitora wasn't able to solve the conflict. And that screen you see is just a notepad. It doesn't really, has no functional meaning other than to be a nice notepad. You have to come to the SQL developer or your favorite tool to really resolve the issue. So when we open a new model, we'll see that the new if statement, the new column script, has arrived from dev2 to pre-prod, but because both developers added at the end of the package, that caused the problem. Git is careful, so if there are both people add things at the end of the model, Git wants to, just be sure, and wants you to take a look at it. This shouldn't confuse you. This is actually a stop. This is the other side from the video. I guess I'm talking here in the video. So let me move quickly. Okay. So basically, we opened a new package, a new model package, and resolve the issue. As you see, this is what Git creates by default. This means, I couldn't figure out what it is. I'm just going to dump the whole thing to the package, and you go ahead and resolve it. Also notice, and this is an easy conflict, so we can just fix it in the package. But sometimes these conflicts can be really complicated, and therefore you might want to compare what you have locally to what you received from the remote database. And therefore, Gitora creates these two new packages called new model $M and new model $P. Basically, this M stands for mine and T stands for theirs. So this M is what pre-prod used to have before the pull, and T stands for theirs, and that stands for what we received from the remote server. So you can open these two in an editor, compare them, put them side by side, and compare the differences, and maybe sit together with the other developer and go over the changes and do a merge together. Teams sometimes have like merge parties with pizzas. So this is how they usually work. The agile teams work. But here the solution is simple. I want both if statements, both columns. So yeah, I just put them all together. But of course, I have to log in first, and I haven't. So I just have to log into the pre-prod session here. It's relevant, and I'm going to do the merge. It's relevant because I'm the guy who's release manager is the one who's managing this. Now the second one is more interesting. The same function was updated by two developers, but they gave different values. So this is resolved. So I just click resolve. This is just a notepad to help me keep track of the issues. But here, okay, this is a case where two developers have to sit together and solve this problem. Guys, our projects expect 77. Now our projects expects 99. So they come together and resolve this one way or the other. This is a real merge conflict. And they compromise and they decide on 88, as the case may be. Because different people might have made different assumptions. So we close both, and then we make the final commit. So we resolve all the conflicts. Now we have to make the final commit to finish our merge. And that's the big commit button there. And where was it? Oh, here it is. So next, there's a big commit button. Okay, I resolve all my conflicts. This is the official merge. Conflicts resolved. Commit. Boom. Now, the great thing is both histories are here. Histories from both teams are merged together. So I have a nice history here, which is great. That's all I wanted in the first place. And I can run my do model now and create the additional column, and I'll be done. And finally, this is the final, what's the word? Icing on the cake is the dev1 team and the dev2 team. Obviously, they want to continue working. And what they want to do is, let me stop here. What they want to do is, as a dev1 team, you don't want to keep developing. You want the latest code from pre-prod, which is merged, lots of conflicts are resolved. So you want to move forward from this new code that is merged. So what you can do is simply pull from pre-prod to dev1, which is excellent because all the conflicts are resolved, and the next time you won't run into these problems. So dev1 comes in, John comes in dev1 and makes a pull from pre-prod to receive all the changes. And this time, there aren't going to be any conflicts because all the conflicts are resolved in pre-prod. We don't have to do all this all over again. Let's see here. We just pick from pre-prod, pick the demo, pick the branch, click OK, and all the merges, all the conflicts are resolved, moved here, all the history is here. It's just fine. Dev 1 can continue development without, without any issues. And the same is true for Dev 2. Well, that completes my demo. Are there any other questions? Sanjay has a question. Do provide installation and different kind of implementation use cases, example branching for references. Yes, there are. There are a few of those videos actually. If you go to our website, in the blog, I have a few other use cases where I show branching, etc. And basically, they all work. And if you're interested in more detail, I'd be happy to talk to your team with a meeting. But yeah, I keep adding new videos. Walid asks, can it compare two commit points? Yes, of course. And you can even generate a script like that. Let me connect to a. Do I have a Gitora installation that I can do this available? I don't think so. I don't think I have anything ready right now, but basically, let me show it to you here. Hang on. I can show you the button. I don't think it's functional because this is our development environment, and I've been working on it. Hang on. Does this work? Gitora for testing. Let's give it a shot. Probably not. But that's what the diff button is for. So to the diff button, you can give two commit points, and there is actually a very nice explanation in our website in the learning tab, under the learning tab. I think here it is. Hang on. I'm pretty sure I did this. But maybe I don't remember. Maybe I didn't. Hang on. Somewhere. Get script. See? When you click get script, there is a get script button, and then you get this nice dialog. You give a starting commit point ID, and you give a destination commit point ID, and you get a script. So if you know the two commit points you want to get a difference for, the diff script for, all you have to do is give these two commit points, and you're going to get the exact script that you have to run. And this is how you go to production. And it's really cool. So yeah, so there is even a whole documentation about how you make this work. Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you for your interest. Yeah, I will send everyone the links and the videos, etc. Can it find diffs between? Very good question, Walid. It asks, can it find differences between any two databases? Yes, and in a very tricky way. What you see in this case, you don't really have to do that. All you have to do is see, all the differences are already in your Gitora repository. So if you know what commit point that database is in, all you have to do is take the commit point and put it to your local Gitora, because all the history is stored locally. So you got to get out of this thinking of remote databases and comparing differences between databases. We don't do that. There is no manual comparison or panic going through the comparing of database objects. It's all done by Git, because Git has all your history. Because if you have another database managed by Gitora, it must be at a commit point, right? It's at a commit point. And because all history is stored locally in Git, whatever database you are on has that commit point in itself. So you can just put that commit point ID, and commit point IDs are universal, so you can just put them in and get a script really quickly, really fast. That's the beauty. So very good question. You can also do it with no commit points, and it's also there. If you want the whole script, just leave it empty. It gives you the whole script. Anthony asks, how do you find the commit point? Oh, here it is. Hang on. That's easy. Basically, commit points are... hang on. Maybe I can show it in the video. Hang on while this is loading. Oh, it's here. So let me just log in. This is a non-functioning version, but here it is. Oh, I gotta go to the video. Sorry. So the way you find the commit point is, see, these are commit point IDs. If you click, they are a little bit longer, but even the last few digits are good. And you don't even have to memorize them. Like if you want the latest one, it's called head. So if you go to the documentation, it's even here. Like if you don't know, like you just want the latest thing, type head to use the latest commit ID. So if you want the latest commit ID, it's called head. If you want any commit ID, you just go to the Gitora UI, and these are your commit IDs. There are longer ones, but if you click in any one of these, you will see the full commit ID. So it's really easy to find. So, any other questions? Let me send you the, guys, this is going to be available only for today. Oh, Anthony asks, that's a good place for a list of values dropdown, referring to commit IDs. No, actually, Anthony, because here's the thing. This UI is how you, there is going to be thousands of commit IDs, so I cannot put them in a dropdown or an LOV. It doesn't even make sense. You should see this list is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger over time. So what you want to do is like find the thing here, looking at things, like looking at your logs, going through things, explanations, and find the commit ID if you ever want to go back. That's how you do it. And the other thing you want to do is label your important commit points. Say if you deploy something to production, you want to put a label there, like this is my 1.0, and Gitora supports labeling. And you can, instead of commit IDs, you can also use tags. Labels are called tags in Git. So instead of entering a commit ID, you can also enter a tag name, say version 1.0. So if you have a new version 2.0, you can simply come here and say, write version 1.0 here, version 1.2 here, and create download DDL script and get the difference between 1.0 and 2.0. So a drop down wouldn't really work because you would have too many commits. But tags are a good example. Walid asks, what's the GUI for this tool? A desktop application or a web application? Oh, it's a web application. It's actually built with FromSpider. So you can run it from anywhere. Any other questions? Yeah, it's okay, but we'll be here. And Anthony has a great webinar, and he says we're going to probably have a discussion about it internally. Yeah, I understand large companies have to go through a purchasing decision, and that's okay. And if you want to get in touch, I'll be happy to do an e-meeting with your teams and explain over the whole thing. Basically, my point is we're going to be with you at every step of the way to get you through this. So any installation issues, anything that you don't understand, just let us know. We help everyone to get started. Oh, this is the link. Any coupon number? The coupon number is this link. So if you go to this link, and if you make your purchase through this link that I just sent, you can complete your purchase with a discount, and we'll have, like for everyone, we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Okay, so hang on. This is the 30-day money-back guarantee slide. Yeah, so thank you very much for everyone. I guess this is all the questions. Oh, hang on, one more. I'm going to share you the video. I'm going to share you everything. The video. It's on the video is on the website. There is a nice video on the website where I go through the demo and explain everything, Vishal. So you can also go to the website on the main page. You'll be able to see it and just watch it. It's there. But I'm going to send you the whole video as well. Like this whole webinar, I'm going to email it to you. Just give me a day. Yeah. So if that's it, thank you, Walid. Thank you, everyone, for excellent questions and for being there. I truly appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch. I'll see you in the next webinar. Bye-bye.